Sports Biz Radio. We have a special guest, Ashley Hart, today. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Ashley, you are the CEO and founder of ShePlays.
Yes, one of the founders. Yeah, there are three of us that all met in college and have stayed friends for 10 plus years. I don't want to date myself too much, but yeah, we
Wow.
are great friends. And when I had this idea, I kind of asked myself, well, who would I want to work with? Who would I want to build this with? And pitched it to some of them, and two said yes. So yeah.
So this was an idea that you started after college.
Yes. Yeah. I
Okay.
started about a year and a half ago, really thinking about it.
All right. What was that moment that you had without, thinking about who is going to be your partner, but what was that moment that you had that you said, aha, I got
Yeah.
it. This is what I want to do. Like, tell me that story.
Okay. So I'll try to keep it brief. So I was going through a career change. I knew I was leaving my current job, which was in the nonprofit world, and I'd found a lot of purpose in that job. And so knowing that I was switching, I was like, well, I don't want to just like go do whatever, like just go waste my time 9 to 5 somewhere, not doing something that I love. So I just started brainstorming, like, okay, what am I passionate about? And I was at the beach with my family actually, and trying to find an Orlando soccer game. I was in North Carolina, and it was almost impossible to find how to stream it. It was definitely not on TV. And it was like a professional sports game. I was like, this should not be this hard. And so really kind of dove into, well, how many games actually are on TV? I think we all probably know the equal pay argument that's going on, or the fight for equal pay. But I really started to notice this lack of equal display. So, that goes hand in hand with, well, if you're not on TV and getting sponsorships, you can't pay your athletes more. So kind of started brainstorming, and actually my sister came up with the name that week. And then I got home and was like, all right, how far spread is this? Like, is it just on TV, or female athletes like followed in the news and like print sports media? And so I actually went to a Barnes and Noble, and they have that big magazine section, and it's like 40 sports magazines. So I was like, surely I'll see something different here. And like, of all 40, like not a single one had a female on the cover. And it's then doing research, it's like 4% of sports media coverage goes to female athletes. And so I think from there it was like, okay, this is something I'm passionate about. This is something that would be a lot of fun to dive into. And I've got a new baby niece that, like, well, what if she's like an all-star tennis player, or well, they get paid the same now, but like, all-star soccer or basketball. And I want her to have the best future possible for that. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell how I got started.
The greatest thing about startups and innovators is disrupting the marketplace, right? And finding something that's going to change, hopefully, the world, the way people interact with certain things, or make people's lives easier. But it certainly seems like you're onto doing something that's going to seriously disrupt the marketplace, and provide a need in there that's there. There's a window in there for you. So anyway, congrats on the idea and the concept. So let's talk about your co-founders now. So how'd you get them excited about this?
Yeah, so we were doing like a girls reunion weekend in January, and I just knew that I was going to pursue this. It was January. I was like ready to file paperwork to start a company. February is when we actually did it. And so just, I have a certain set of skills, they say, but I also don't know a lot about starting a business. And so, they're well educated, super experienced. One had just gotten her MBA, one's a marketing executive. And so went and kind of did a pitch in front of my friends. And they had, they said, okay, I'll take some time to think about this. And then throughout the next week, they called and said they were interested and wanted to be a part.
So now that they're in and you guys are in it together, I'm sure you had that conversation that everybody with partners has is, okay, this is only business. I know we're friends, but this is business and we have to roll up our sleeves. Did you guys, are you at the stage where you divided and conquered based upon what you're interested in, what your skill sets are, and what you think you guys both, all of you guys bring value to the table?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that was first and foremost our priority is, hey, we're friends first. And like they always say, like friends and family and business, be careful. And I won't lie, it has been tricky. I mean, I think there's been lots of moments where um, I've had to, think through how we're going to have this conversation. I'm the only one doing it full time now.
Yeah.
And so, it just gets a little tricky there of wanting everyone to be on the same page, but respecting also their boundaries and my boundaries. So, yeah, we did at first kind of divide and conquer. We were writing a business plan and doing all that stuff. I mean, we were all pretty all hands on deck in the beginning months. And then now that we did our bracket challenge in June and have more of a presence on in podcasting and social media, they've been able to kind of take a step back and provide kind of advisory and little things here and there. But yeah, it's been really fun. It's been hard, I will say, but again, like I trust them completely, and it was easier to go into something and trust what we're building because I knew them so well.
Yeah, I mean it's not easy to do, but sometimes when you go in it with people that you know, like you said, and you trust, it's easier. But when you have sometimes we have disagreements, it becomes a little bit more, you know, it could get mucky. It could get mucky. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
but
just you have
Ed,
to learn how to talk with people and listen. I think listening for especially for CEOs, that's got to be one of your skills that you hone is you got to be able to listen.
that's right, as a good leader. So building the only fantasy sports site dedicated exclusively to U.S. women's pro leagues. That's the tag on it, or that's my long version of the tag.
Yeah, that's she plays. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about that. So talk about the functionality. Talk about what the engagement is like, and what's your overall vision and goals of the platform.
Yeah, so overall goal would be to have every league that exists in the United States and then expand out. But first in the United States, which has between 12 and 15 professional sports leagues. And they range from, your typical basketball, softball, soccer, all, we're looking at, hockey, but ultimate frisbee and lacrosse and volleyball. And so kind of getting some unique sports on there too. But we did a bracket challenge for the World Cup and had pretty good response with that. Just again, being new, as a soccer fan, I know that like personally, I've wanted to have something like this, and just a bunch of my friends and Twitter soccer fans on Twitter are pretty active and vocal, and so it's been really neat to really see this demand. And as we've talked to different leagues and talked with people who used to play in these leagues, they've all kind of said the same thing of like, oh my gosh, you're right, like that doesn't exist, we should have that. And so yeah, I mean, it's proven to drive engagement of fans to their leagues, and that's kind of what we're wanting to do is help women be more in the conversation when it comes to sports. So yeah, I mean, we partnered with a company that's in the fantasy, now it's the Fantasy Sports Gaming Association. It was the trade association. I kind of just pulled up a list of their partners and called them and said, hey, this is what I want to do, what do you think? And Vinfotech is the company that we work with. And it was really neat. The guy that I spoke with actually said, I've been waiting for this phone call. I've been waiting for someone to call and ask about making fantasy sports for women's leagues. So they are developing it. I will say that like the tech stuff is not my bread and butter. I've had to learn a lot. We are bringing on a CTO hopefully this month, but they have graciously helped us get going.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what's the next steps? I mean, what are some of the things that if that you've learned along the way, and now that you're you're moving forward, um, I have two questions here, and I don't know how to spit either one out, so that's why it's taking me so long to say
Oh, you're good.
it. So, um, so what's next? What's on the horizon for you? What are you looking down at for 2020?
So we're launching our first batch of paid games. We'll have free bracket challenges throughout the year every year, but we're launching a paid pick'em game, a weekly pick'em game in January. And then in March, we'll roll out our first paid sport and season specific games. So we'll have fantasy football for the USWFL Football League. There are 3 tackle football leagues for women in the country. Which I did not know going in. So yeah, so we're really excited just to roll those out and to partner with some of the leagues that we've been able to have conversations with. I think that's been one of the most surprising and exciting things about getting into this is how accessible people actually are if you just make that phone call or send that email. You know, the worst they could say is, no, I'm not interested, or I don't have time. But I mean, I've been speaking with commissioners, and I've been to a soccer conference, and, you know, met with owners of MLS teams. And so it's just really neat to see, one, how put your fear aside and just take the leap and you'll get rewarded. And also within the female sports community, people are so cooperative and collaborative and want each other to succeed. So that's been really neat to learn and to grow into.
Awesome. So let's take a step back.
Okay.
And I got a doozy of my final question, but this is going to be 2 parts. So talk a little bit about you, like, you know, where you went to college. How did you get to this point besides, you know, the nonprofit that you worked at? And which, like, what is it about you that has gotten you to the point of being an entrepreneur? So where did you go to college and where'd you go from there?
So I graduated from Wake Forest University in North Carolina. My freshman year, I went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I grew up a Tar Heel fan, grew up a huge soccer fan because of Anson Dorrance and the Tar Heels, who were just a dynasty, Mia Hamm and everyone. So I think I've always been a big sports fan and played a lot of sports growing up, played intramurals in college and everything. So that's kind of been on the backside. And, you know, growing up in North Carolina, everyone's doing brackets for March Madness. I mean, whether you know it or not, you're learning how to play fantasy sports at a young age. And so like that side of it has been, I've always, with my family, talked sports. And I think, you know, it is fun to look back and see kind of fearlessness be a part of my life. I don't know in the moment that I would have thought that, but through getting to live abroad a couple places and, you know, transfer into a school and totally change my major, you know, it's just, I do feel like I've been uniquely blessed and gifted with just the ability to be flexible and pivot when needed, and thankfully be surrounded by people that are encouraging and work hard and help inspire me. So yeah, went to college, then taught for a year in Spain, and came back and started working for Young Life, the nonprofit that I worked for 10 years. And you're really in that ministry. I didn't know that this at the time, but you really are learning how to run a small business. Starting one is different, but learning how to run it. It's been really neat in this past year and a half to be like, oh, I do know how to do this. Thanks, Young Life, for that training. I was kind of getting an MBA without knowing it. So, so yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. What you learn about yourself through this process? Talk about that.
Mm. You know, I'm still in reflection mode about that, especially end of the year. I think I've learned what's important to me. You know, that we only have this one life, and so um, I get to make the decisions about what I do with it. To a certain extent, I mean, you do have to pay your bills, so there is, you know, there is that. But knowing that I don't want to compromise my time and my passion um, for anything really, and um, It's been really, I am, I kind of did take a bet on myself, took a chance on myself. I moved to Orlando, Florida, not knowing anyone a year and a half ago, just to pursue this and to pursue something new, and being able to make connections, meet people, build something from scratch. Yeah, it's pretty neat to think back about that.
Okay. Well, that was a great answer about that.
Oh.
That's great. So, last question. This is the doozy. This is the
Oh.
one I ask everybody. So, by the way, Ashley's going to be part of our demo day. She's part of our accelerator, our game plan you, and we look forward to this a real pitch on demo day. But if you were to inherit or find or win the lottery $1 million, right, and you took that $1 million and you're going to put it to your business tomorrow,
Hmm.
what do you do with it? How's that question? To not
Yeah.
prepare for.
I mean, I love to think about it. Let's go. I'll go buy a lottery ticket tomorrow if you're saying I'm winning.
Right.
Yeah, we'd build out all of our games and be able to roll them out stress free, at least as far as like waiting for the development part. I'd hire people, and gosh, yeah, $1 million would go quite a bit away. We haven't really done lots of paid marketing. We've just
Mhm.
tried to guerrilla market ourselves, and
Mhm.
so I think you have to look into some of that. But building a team for sure. I think that is kind of my charge as CEO, is to build something that lasts, and so really laying that foundation and then getting all of our games built.
It's a tough question, I know, and I surprised you with it,
Oh
but
no.
that was a great answer. So I'm going to put in the link and how to reach you on your website. Also, you just once you talk about your website, how do they find you? How do the people reach out to you as well?
Yeah, so our website is she-plays.com, and you can go ahead and register for your fantasy sports account before we launch. We have online trivia games going every week for people who register. We also are social media at ShePlaysPro, and we have a podcast too, She Plays the Podcast.
Wonderful. I can't wait to be a guest on that show, by the
Yeah, yeah.
way.
Come on.
So that's Ashley over there. I'm Rob. Thank you so much, Ashley, for your time. Everybody for watching and listening to on the podcast show. But thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Ashley, we'll see you in Orlando soon.
That's right. Thanks so much, Rob.
Oh, you bet.